Hi guys, my name is Bria, and I need to tell my story, my mental health journey. Um, it's a lot, and the way that mental health is dealt with in my area, in my city, is an absolute shame, and it's pretty much ridiculous how a lot of people do not get the right help that they need. A lot of people are not given coping skills. They're given a bottle of pills instead of coping skills. Um, Let me trace back all the way back before I get started into what recently has affected me. So, I was depressed for many years, really, and no one really knew about it. Um, it started about when I was like 12, 13, because I had moved from one city to another and I was without my best friend. So I really took that hard and I moved to another town where, you know, uh, I had to make new friends, and not everyone received me and took me as I was. Um, you know, it was stupid kid stuff. They think they wanted me to have Jordans and all this stuff, and being that I was only 12 and 13 years old, you know, I didn't understand that I didn't need that stuff. I thought, oh, let me get it so they'll like me. And I was bullied. Um, and um, I didn't have that much family support, like, especially from my mom. And my dad died when I was 10. So that affected me too, even though, um, I don't know, I feel like it affected me like a little bit later in life. Um, but me and my mom's relationship, it definitely gave way to depression. Um, because it wasn't improving. Like, anyway, I don't want to get into specifics because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus because this is really about me. But also, when people are dealing with depression, their life and the things that they have to deal with affects them. So, people with depression, we need support. I'm not dealing with depression now, but a lot of people, they if their situation isn't where they want to be, like, I'm sure I'm not the only person that, you know, lived in an environment where they wanted to get out, where they wanted to get a job, but it was so hard to where I really couldn't because I was going to college, doing work study, um, and in some case I was in plays and just and the job that I had paid me so little, it was basically only for gas money. I'm sure it's people that go through that where they're living with, you know, a parent or someone that they might not want to live with, and they can't get out of that situation because they're really stuck there financially. So that's kind of what I was going through, and that's why I was depressed once I had came into my um, adult teen years, 18 and 19. So I went to um, a counselor, and I was, trying that out, but it wasn't working. Like, she just basically let me spill my whole entire life story and would just be like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it was like I had lost two two men in my life, you know, my brother and my father at 10 and 15. So, you know what I mean? A lot of people, they'll experience that and then they'll start smoking crack rock. You know, I was, I wasn't, you know, it was really strong and resilient of me to still be holding on, but I was looking for help. Um, but man can only help you but so far, and that's another video, another topic for another day. Um, but anyways, the counselor wasn't helping. That's when I was 19, around 20-ish. The counselor wasn't helping, so I stopped going. And then I remember I told her that I smoked weed, and then she was like, well, we're going to start doing urine samples. And even though you're not in trouble, I'm like, if I'm not in trouble, why do you have to collect my urine? This is so stupid. But that was in, 2013, 2014. But, that I just found that to be so stupid. So I just stopped going. And she was just letting me spill my guts out. She wasn't really helping me. I wrote these down because it's a lot. And it's going to be easier for me to just send this video to people if they ask me, why do I feel this way about the mental health community, and why in the way that um, people can fall through the cracks. Like, I feel like, especially with this particular hospital, you come in one way and then they hand you a bottle of pills and send you out on your way. They don't care about your past. They don't care about what you had to deal with. They just give you pills and send you on your way and tell you you better take them. And I've heard the staff say, don't come back, like it's jail. And then they treat us like it's jail too. They don't treat us as people. The fourth floor of this particular hospital. And I am scared to say it because of how they treat people. And they got a whole gang and a whole gaggle of lawyers on their side. Um, and that's another thing too. And that's another thing too. Their court system. If you become an inpatient at the fourth floor of this particular hospital, um, this particular mental hospital, um, if you try to fight the diagnosis by going downtown, they have doctors and lawyers that are on their side that are going to work on their behalf, and they're going to have a whole bunch of reports on you to basically send you right back to the mental hospital, which I think is really, really unfair as well as corrupt. Um, so it's like, if you try to fight it and you end up staying way longer, and then you have to fight it some more and fight it some more, and then you're at their mercy while still being an inpatient. And it's ridiculous. And I'm going to touch on some things. So I I remember I went to Atlanta in 2017. Um, I thought that was going to fix things. No, it didn't. Um, because I didn't have a car. And you gotta have a car in Hotlanta. So I couldn't really go anywhere. It's like the song, bored in the house, bored in the house, bored. Bored in the house, bored in the house, bored. Bored in the house, bored in the house, bored. Bored in the house, in the house, bored. So that resulted in depression, not being in the city that, I came from, where it's a bus stop within walking distance if you're in the city. So I started taking Zoloft in 2017. And, I was still going to counselors. I went to this one place, and they let me do the intake, um, which is really 3 visits where they just ask you a whole bunch of questions. Um, and I was like telling the counselor about some of my problems. I was like trying to squeeze it in with the questions, and she was like, "Okay, you can't talk about this. I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to put down these questions." And it was like, wow, like the questions are more important than what I'm going through. Okay, so I went to her, and then I went to other um this other counselor, and she was more helpful. I'll call her Miss L. She was more helpful, but I felt like I it was like I made myself the problem because of what I was going through. I was like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And I kept trying to find that out. And I'm like, I'm depressed. Like, am I bipolar? And then Miss L was like, no, you're not bipolar, honey. Um, but you are dealing with depression. That's what Miss L said. And, I was taking Zoloft, Miss L, and then the psychiatrist there at this particular counseling place, they diagnosed me with depression and generalized anxiety. So I was taking Zoloft, and I think it was hydroxyzine. But, um, part of me thought I could get high off the hydroxyzine. So that was, you know, that was a no-no. But it was like only one time where I took 6 in one day because I was really, really agitated. And I was really anxious, but I also felt like the Zoloft made me anxious. It made me feel like I did like a line or something, or like took a little bit of Adderall. Like it made me feel like an artificial, or had like a big gigantic glass of coffee. It made me, have an artificial pep in my step, if that makes sense. So I was taking Zoloft from fall of 2017 to like fall of 2018, and I stopped taking it because I wasn't depressed anymore. And then recently I've said that things pop off when it's a combination of things going on. So to go back to 2017, I stopped taking the Zoloft because I felt better. I wasn't depressed anymore. Um, and then I accidentally smoked some K2. The K2 was right down the street from me. And I had no idea. Um, so I felt like I went into a drug-induced psychosis. And I called my mom during that, and she took me to the mental hospital. And that didn't help because they put me on pills. They didn't let the K2, they didn't let me detoxify off of that. They just said, "Oh, well, we're not even going to take the time to try to talk to you. We're going to give you more pills. We're going to give you our pharmaceutical drugs. Even though you took a drug off the street, we're going to give you our pharmaceutical drugs." So I wasn't informed of what I was taking. They weren't even trying to let us know what the doctors' names were. They were like shortening it down to like the first letter of their name. But I'm going to call her Dr. Shark. Dr. Shark had me taking Zyprexa. And like I said, they didn't inform anyone. Well, they didn't inform me. I'll speak for myself. They didn't inform me of what I was taking. They just called everyone up for meds, and you had to take them. And then they went like the lift your tongue up. It was really degrading, like we were children. And you couldn't leave when you wanted to. You never knew when you were going to leave. The first 2 times that I was in the 4th floor of this particular hospital, I never knew when I was going to leave. And my mom, they let her be in charge of my discharge and everything, and she was just letting them basically do whatever to me. Oh, they're helping her. And no. How can a place that won't even let you leave on your own recognizance help you? And you ain't broke no laws, and you haven't hurt anyone. And then that's another thing too. They got this mental hygiene law, and it's basically to say, oh, these people are the problem, so they need to be held like they're in jail, like they're animals, like they're less than, because of mental hygiene law. And they keep changing the laws. It's really ridiculous. And I felt as if it was that Dr. Shark had given me a misdiagnosis, because she did not let me detox. And I remember she said, her reality is not like our reality. And to be quite honest with you, with everyone, I'm a Christian. So I see things. I'm spiritually aware of the repercussions of doing certain things, and what will result from that. So is your reality? What's your reality? Because I follow God by way of Jesus Christ. So after I came out, and I was living on my own from my mother anyway, so I don't understand why they had to keep talking to her. Anyways, so when I was released, I didn't go to her house. Anyways, I wanted to wean off their prescriptions because my breasts were starting to leak this weird fluid. I wasn't pregnant. This was the end of 2018. I wasn't pregnant. I didn't have any kids at that point. But the drug was so strong to when I tried to wean off of it, I had some strong withdrawals. I was sweating profusely. My heart was racing. And then I became out of it again because my body was looking for the drug. And I don't know if I mentioned this before. I think I might try to record this video all in one shot just to make it easy for me. But the court system, if you want to fight it and if you want to fight the diagnosis, I think I did mention that, but I will repeat it again. They have their doctors and their lawyers, which uh, is on their side. And matter of fact, I did mention it. They're on their side, and you'll end up staying longer if you don't comply. So, you're forced to comply. You're forced to comply unless you fight it, and then people think that they could fight it, but they really can't because they end up being locked in even more, even longer. So I ended up back in the hospital because crisis services was called, and a whole false report was made um, on behalf by someone. I'm not going to mention who it is because, like I said, I don't want to throw that person under the bus. But I didn't do anything wrong, and the people that were with me didn't do anything wrong either. Um, so I was scared to death the second time they put me in there. Like, I literally thought I was in hell. And the way that that place treats you, and when you're out of your mind, from, let's say, a street drug, or even in my case where I tried to wean off their drugs, they just gave me even stronger drugs. They gave me Risperidol, and it turned me into a zombie. And Risperidol actually has many class lawsuits against it. Um, it makes men grow breasts, and it made my breast leak. But the gynecomastia, men growing breasts, that's a class action lawsuit that is out against Risperidol. And also, they didn't inform me again of what they were giving me. I had no idea, but they just told me that I had to get an injection before I left. So they were holding me against my will until I got injected. And then I had to keep getting injected. And that reminds me of this Cat Williams stand-up where he said he went to a mental hospital, and he said the meds that they gave him were so strong they could knock out a baby elephant. And I understand completely what he's talking about. And it's a shame that they do that. Like I said, my mom wasn't advocating for me, and I was so scared. And then the Risperidol had slowed me down to the point where I couldn't advocate for myself. And she wasn't working on getting me out as soon as possible either. She was like, they're helping her. And, she said, they're helping her in the elevator. And this other person that was in the elevator looked at her and like, what are you talking about? This place do not help people. Do not help people. And then the most recent time that I had to deal with them, this lady said to my man, you could get in, it's easy to get in, but hard to get out. Or it's easy to get in, but you can't get out. Something like that. And I find that to be 100% true. And I remember it was like this, I guess, I don't know what to call this place. I know it's a certain name for it, a certain acronym, but like I said, I do not want these people to try to come after me or try to sue me because they got a lot of people on their side. But it was this big, like, intake room, like this huge room, and then just nurses or just staff just sitting in this little station in like this big huge room, and they only give you snack. um Anyways, They'll give you meals, but it seems like you eat more snacks than meals. Anyway, I remember it was this girl, this white girl, with some leopard leggings, and she was like, "This place ain't right." And I said the same thing. I said, "No, it's not right in here." Because we know when we get treated right, and we know when we get treated wrong. No matter what pills you might try to give to somebody that they do not need. And another thing in the mental health field, these these professionals, these counselors, these doctors, these psychiatrists, they need to look at what we go through holistically as a whole. Don't be so quick to shove pills down somebody's throat, because you don't know if that pill can make somebody more aggressive, if that pill can make somebody more hungry, anything. And it's a long laundry list of side effects. It's like, why can't you? And that was another thing that I dealt with when I was going through counseling. It was like it took forever just to get to the coping skills. And then once you get to the coping skills, it's like, oh, read a book, listen to music, do coloring, like color in a color book, like stuff I was already doing minus the, coloring.